Hey friends, we're going to talk about why 50% commission is a bad idea in your business and some of the common questions that come up. I did have a great question in my stories when I was sharing why 50% commission is not going to generate any profit for your business. So let's talk about team building. Building out a team is not you're fully booked, you're so busy, you hate turning down clients, so you need a warm body in there. And we're just going to hire anybody who can come in and do lashes. That is the worst possible way you could go about building out a team. That's going to be a really, really expensive, painful mistake. The industry standard here in the US is believed to be 50% commission. Why is that? Because it's the blind leading the friggin' blind. Because maybe when you started out working for somebody else, you were paid 50% commission. So why not? That must be, they were successful, right? They had the big dream salon and drove the expensive cars and blah, 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 blah. So we just assume that that's what's industry standard. And then we look at the people that are searching for jobs and their expectation is 50% commission. This is where most lash artists who build out a team just jump in. They're fully booked. They don't have time. They want more time back and they're tired of turning away clients. So they think, I'm going to build out a team and that way I can finally get my time back and I don't have to turn these clients away, and that is the goal. But most of y'all, if you've ever done that, realize that's actually not the reality. Here's where 50% commission goes wrong and why it's a terrible idea for your business and why I know that you did not have intention in growing out the team, that you weren't strategic and looking at the long term of your business, that you created a short-term solution that actually created a long-term problem in your business. Here's how. 50% commission is a thing in our industry for one reason and one reason only. The majority of people, maybe not so much now, but it's still very, very common, pay 50% commission to people they deem as independent contractors, also known as 1099s. This means essentially the business owner is hiring on an independent contractor, and that means that they don't have to pay payroll taxes, they don't have to provide certain insurances, and they don't require that, the federal government doesn't require that they pay sick pay, which is a requirement if you have employees. They don't require minimum wage. So these business owners are actually illegally misclassifying employees as independent contractors to avoid paying certain government requirements that are required if you have employees. So that means that they don't pay your part of payroll taxes, that they don't pay, they can get away with deducting expenses that should be the independent contractors write-off, and that they don't have to pay you sick pay and they don't have to pay you minimum wage. I was misclassified as my very first job out of, actually my very first two jobs out of beauty school. So what that meant for me as the independent contractor employee is I showed up for my assigned shift. Problem number one, I should not have assigned shifts. I'm an independent contractor. And I was the third in seniority of two other lash artists ahead of me. And I sat there and waited for walk-ins all day. So I would spend 9 hours a day sitting in this salon, maybe getting one client if the other two girls were busy, but mainly doing the business owner's lashes is essentially what it turned into. And I filed for unemployment, even though I was employed, but as an independent contractor, because I wasn't making any money. When she classified me as an independent contractor, she didn't have to pay me minimum wage. I was an independent contractor. This is one of the reasons why it's highly illegal, because you are basically just freeloading people and not giving them at least minimum wage. So that is where people can pay 50% commission, because she was only paying 50% commission when I was actually working to make the business money. But if I was sitting around not doing anything, she wasn't paying me, and that's illegal. Independent contractor, just for the most simplest of terms, if you ever hear the word independent contractor, it is a booth rent situation only. That's the only way in which a booth rent or independent contractor actually works here in the US. If you're from another country, totally different story. Check with your own laws. I don't know. But here in the US, the issue when the IRS looks into this, as far as like, is this person misclassified or not, is you cannot be a salon and have an independent contractor that provides beauty services, essentially. They're not independent of each other. If the business grows and makes more money as the independent contractor grows and makes more money, then they're not independent. They are financially dependent on each other. So that makes sense. So let's get into, so that's why 50% commission became like so common, is because it was done illegally, right? The issue with that is that if any of those independent contractors that are misclassified, and I've had plenty in my day reach out to me, they can sue the ever living pants off of the business owner for missed minimum wages. So you would have to owe back pay for as long as that person's been a team member, their missed minimum wages, payroll taxes, and then there's financial penalties for however long it takes you to get caught up to paying that. So it's a very, very expensive lawsuit. And it's not just for the one team member, it can be for all team members you've ever had for the duration of your business. So it ends up bankrupting a lot of businesses that have done it illegally. So not recommended. It's not what I teach. We don't do anything illegal. And I would say that most people that go independent contractors hiring on them, it's not their intention to do it illegally. They're just not aware of the law. That also lets me know you didn't build out a team with intention. So here is where I know if you offer even 40 or 50% commission or more, that you did not go into hiring a team with a plan, that you just were like fully booked. I need a warm body. Okay, they want to work for 50% commission. Great. That's better than me losing money by clients going out the door. If you actually looked at your financials, if you knew how much you could afford to pay someone, you'd see that 50% commission was not going to work for your business model. So that alone, you looking at, okay, if I'm required to pay them at least minimum wage for the hours that they're here, and I owe them sick pay on days that they don't show up, or they're sick, they get, I think it's 72 hours or 3 days of sick pay per year. And I'm going to owe payroll taxes. That will determine how much I can pay somebody, instead of what is the market? What can I get an employee? What does an employee want to pay? And maybe I'll pay them that, rather than what can I as the business owner afford to pay, and finding a team that will work for me at that pay rate. So the question I got asked was, I can't find anybody good quality who will work for less than 50% commission. And I'm going to call BS on that. Because the reason why you can't find anybody who will work for less than 50% commission, and the assumption is that people that work for 50% commission are quality employees. No. The majority of people that work for 50% commission are those that will not stay long, will not do it your way. They are usually people who have been in the industry longer, so they know they can get 50% commission somewhere. So why would they work for someone if they can't get that, because they can go down the street and get that? And they're the people that are most likely, within a short time frame of you bringing them on, going to take the clients and go open up their own spot, because they have no room for growth and opportunity in your business, because you can't afford to pay them more than 50% commission. So once they get fully booked and they're maxed out and they can't work more hours and they can't, increase how much they're making, they're gone. And you have built out a team that is only loyal and only there because of the paycheck. And that is a very, very risky game to play. So what's the solution? The solution actually starts long before you ever put out a job opportunity. The solution is, what kind of business and culture do I want to create? What is the mission of this business? Because people will, especially with millennials and younger, it is far less about the money as it is the job satisfaction. Yes, money is important. They want to be able to pay their bills. They want to be able to have a stable lifestyle. They're not entrepreneurs, at least not to start, where they think, okay, I have unlimited potential in money earnings. They are, I want to do my artistry. I want to come in. I want to be paid well for what I do. And then I want to go have fun and live my life. So if you do not have a mission, a vision for where the company is going, where your business is going, and why they should get in on that now, then you're going to have to, then money's going to be the only other deciding factor, right? It's the same thing with clients, right? When clients ask, how much do you charge? You give them the full set price and they're like, that's too expensive. And you're like, they ghosted me and I never heard from them again. But you didn't paint the vision of what life was like having your lashes on. You didn't address the pain points. You didn't give them a reason other than your price to make a deciding factor. So when you look at team members, it's the same thing. They want to be a part of something great. So why not create that when you paint the vision? That is pretty much what your sole job is going to be as you move forward in building out a team, is casting the vision for these people. What is it we're doing? We want to have a great reputation in the community. We want the healthiest natural lashes around, because there's franchises out there that's not their priority. And all the clients that had their lashes damaged there are looking for somebody else. Why not you and your team? The culture, right? Between each artist. If you are hiring people that have a good attitude and who aren't toxic, all out for themselves kind of people, then people enjoy their coworkers. They become friends with them. They want to stay there because all of their friends are there, right? You're building out a culture rather than it being a culture of money, which breeds a bunch of people who are out for themselves. It does not create a team building culture. It kind of creates laziness, because why would they work anymore when they're getting 50% commission and they can't get a pay raise and they can't earn it because there's no money left in your budget to pay them more? So it all starts with you getting clear on your vision and your why somebody would want to work for you. And without that, then you need to stop and take a minute and pause, because otherwise, yeah, you're going to have to pay a higher price. So we've got the vision settled. We know what this business wants. We know what the dream is and the vision, and we need people to help us get there. Step 2 is creating a job posting and posting the job in places that these types of people that want to be a part of that type of vision are at. Now, there's a lot of generalizations that are going to go on here, because I know there's a lot of you watching this and not every generalization is applicable. But for the most part, anybody who has been a lash artist for, I would say, 3 or more years knows there's a possibility that they can make more money on their own. They also have their own specific way of doing things, and it's kind of like the old dog, new tricks. They don't want to learn. So we're going to get into why. Once you've got a clear vision and a clear mission statement about what your company is working towards, why somebody would want to be a part of your company. Step 2 is then finding creating a job description that's not just like part-time lash artist needed, great benefits, competitive pay. Like basically you're just copying and pasting what every other lash artist job description is out there. You've got to make it enticing and make it stand out. This is also what I work with one-on-one clients with, is that I have a templated job description that is like gold to repel the wrong types of people and attract the right types of people. Okay, so now we have a great job description. So where do we post this? Where do we find these people? A lot of it, you could do word of mouth. You could put it out there on your social pages, right? You could put it out on a Facebook marketplace or a local Facebook group for beauty professionals. You could put it in your local academies. You could reach out to educators in the area, see if they have any past students looking for a job. But here is where we want to steer clear of anybody who has a lot of experience with lashes. Now, I know that as a fully booked business owner, it is overwhelming to think about having to train and onboard somebody for 90 days because you're already maxed. You are already working so much, which is why I recommend you raise your prices long before you ever bring on a team, and you set specific hours that you don't go over. This is a lot of this raising your prices stuff is stuff I teach in depth in the Lashpreneur Society. But as somebody who is looking to build out a team, your time is the most valuable asset that you need to get back, instead of trying to keep your current client load, bring a warm body in, and have them do lashes. That's not setting you up for long-term success. So you need to get your time back. I would say at least cutting yourself down to maybe 25 hours a week of taking actual clients to start, so that you have another 10 or more hours a week to be able to sit with this new team member and go through the onboarding process of exactly how you do your lashes. You guys have gotten to fully booked. If you're looking to bring on team members, you have a special sauce that you do with your lashes, with your whole customer experience, that has created demand for you to have the demand where building out a team makes sense. That needs to be taken out of your head and put into a process that somebody else can follow. And that's what you're doing during their first 90 days of onboarding. There are also metrics that they should be able to meet after 90 days that would then free them to go being a regular lash artist. One of your, we'll call them floor artists, is, just a whatever term. So if you're concerned about you training somebody and after 90 days, they've had all this amazing training from you that if they just took a course would be like $1,500, and all of a sudden after 90 days, they walk away with that training and you're like, I just trained my competition and she left. That's where I don't love the 50% commission model. I actually like there to be, I choose the hourly rate with performance-based incentives, and that'll be a conversation for another day. But I start them off during their onboarding at a lower hourly rate than they would be once they're a floor artist. because for this reason and this reason alone, I am taking more profit as the business owner while they are in training. So that is compensating me and the business for the paid training that they're getting. So they're getting paid lash training, which most of y'all had to invest in your own. So paid lash training sounds pretty sweet. So even if they left after 90 days, or you decided after 90 days this person is not a good fit, then nobody's bitter or resentful that they gave away all this beautiful training. It's like, nope, I made 3 months of profit off of you taking customers, and, we'll just call it a wash. So you can kind of take that whole, I got burned because somebody walked away with my beautiful training. There are certain metrics that they should be able to meet at the end of their 90 days. And if they don't meet those metrics, then you can plan to do another 30 days of continuing training so they can get up to those metrics. And I would say after another 30 days, they've had 4 months of training. If they're not up to snuff of what your standards are for specific metrics, which again, I go through with my one-on-one clients, then it's a no for me. It's a, yep, thanks. This just isn't going to work out, because most people should be able to do their job at the standard and level that you want them at. Maybe not the level that like somebody who's been with you for years has done, but should be able to meet a certain standard. And if they don't, after you've gone through training with them, after you've troubleshooted why they're not there, then it's probably a lack of motivation, or they're just never going to get there. So let's not keep investing in a team member who's never going to perform to generate revenue. Let's cut our losses and find somebody who can. And then once they meet those metrics, then they would start to qualify, I guess you could say, for a performance-based incentive. So that means that they're still at an hourly rate, none of this commission junk, because I want my payroll to be consistent. I want to know every single month what I'm going to be at. So they're getting that hourly rate, whether they're making you money or not, but that helps keep your payroll consistent. And then they are in charge of their own earnings potential with the performance-based incentives that you offer them, which means that we're never going to have this situation where somebody is expecting us to increase their pay without the business growing, right? That takes the pressure off of you, right? If they want a raise, here's the bonus structure, meet these metrics and you'll earn your bonuses, and you can earn unlimited bonuses, right? So I'll give one example of a bonus. So let's just say, and we use bonuses as what helps the business grow. So let's say that the metric that they have to meet is 50% pre-booking rate. So 50% of their clients, they are required as part of their job to get 50% of their clients to pre-book out their next appointment. If they are meeting that metric every single month, great. They're doing their job. They're doing what they are paid to do. If they want to increase their pay, if they want to get a quarterly bonus, call it $200, then I set a metric for pre-booking as their goal of 75%. If you average 75% of pre-booking your clients over the next quarter, you'll get a $200 bonus. And you can have one, at 90% or whatever. You can have tiers if you want. But this way, they don't earn extra money unless they actually earn extra money. What a concept. What a freaking concept. This means that if somebody's unhappy because of their pay and they're only there for the pay, but they're not actually working to help grow the business, then they are going to weed themselves out, or you're going to can them, because they're not actually helping you fulfill the vision in which you wanted them to be a part of. Ooh, I just got chills saying that. Does that make sense? That we're not breeding laziness, and we're not playing the game of just because you've been here X amount of years or months or whatever, that you're entitled to have any more of my business, because I am the business owner and it is my job to make sure this business stays open. If you want to help me grow it, I will share the rewards with you. We will grow together. Again, we're creating a culture of teamwork. It is no one person is responsible for everything. It's we are growing this together. And if we are not growing, then we're also not getting paid extra. Nobody is having excessive amounts of pay without the business growing. Do you pay them even if they aren't lashing? Correct. Yes. So and I don't know what country you're in, I'm going to speak solely to the US because I don't know the laws in other parts of the world. You are required to pay minimum wage while they are on the clock. So whatever minimum wage is in your state. Now for the hourly rate, I tend to go a little bit above minimum wage, not too much. It just depends on the state you're in. California is really expensive. Believe me, I know it. But yes, they get paid that regardless, which is why I don't like the commission model. Because it's also hard to predict their payroll and your payroll. So I do a flat hourly rate, and that also helps for them, honestly. It helps with them because their paycheck is consistent. Plus, they're also getting tips. So even if I only paid them $15 an hour and they get a $10 to $20 tip on a service, hello, are we working in real life here? Most people, especially if they don't have a college education, aren't making $25 to $35 an hour. My husband, who's in his mid-30s, not making $30 an hour. When I got out of college, I was making $13 an hour in California, in San Diego, where it's very expensive to live. So this entitlement that, $25 to $30 an hour isn't great pay is just bananas. In no other industry, like most people aren't making that, right? That's well above poverty level, or not poverty, average cost of living. So yes, they are getting paid. So now they have predictable paychecks. They know every 2 weeks or whatever, they're getting paid a minimum of, their $15 an hour for how many hours they work during that pay period. And then they'll have tips on top of that. And then they can do performance-based incentives on top of that. So they know, okay, my budget for living is X amount of dollars a month. And then if I want more than that, I know how I can earn it. And this is working so well for one of my one-on-one clients that just put this structure in place. And she actually has a team member who she was paying a commission, and she said, look, we're going to pivot. We're going to go to an hourly based model. And the team member was actually very grateful for it because her paycheck was more consistent. Because it wasn't like, well, I had a really good week, so I did really well this week, but the next week I wasn't doing so well. And then your job is just getting them clients and getting them booked, because you have controllable payroll, so you can start to pull back on the number of clients that you're taking and start to invest more into your team and build out your team, who then becomes the revenue generating machines that you don't have to trade your time for money anymore. Let's see. Be glitzy. What about when they get booked solid? I lose them to going off on their own at that point. Awesome. Great job. Okay. So here's the thing. When they're independent contractors, they can't sign a non-compete. Non-competes are only for employees and employer relationships. So any non-compete, and granted, I'm not a lawyer, seek legal advice. This is not legal advice. Based on my experience, this is what I've researched, but don't take it from me. So yeah, if they're independent contractors, they actually technically, those clients are theirs. Any client they see is the independent contractor's business. So you can't go after them if they steal your client list of clients that they've seen. You have no ground to stand on. When you are the employer, you own the clients. The business owns the clients. They are not owned by the employee. You can have a non-compete that says they may not do XYZ services within X amount of miles for X amount of months, years, whatever is legal in your state. So that is enforceable. Legally, you can sue them if they take clients. And also, I would not allow them to have their own social media accounts so that they can't. So it's not like Lizzie at Lashpreneur Lashes. Nobody has their own. We have one social media account for the business. Nobody has individual accounts. Secondly, they don't have access to client information. There should be one booking site where all clients book through, and the only person who has access to phone numbers, emails, personal contact information is either the receptionist and the owner. So they shouldn't be able, it should be very, very difficult for them to reach out to people. And if you get wind that they're reaching out to people, then you sue them or you send them a cease and desist, right? So there is a way to protect your business. And that's a great question, because in the independent contractor model, yeah, when they get booked solid, why are they going to keep sharing revenue with you when in their mind they can go work from home or, go rent a $400 space and then take all the money? Now, we all know as business owners, it is a lot less profit than they think, but they don't know that. They just see the shiny object of I can make more money out of my own. Great that suing at least work in US. Suing does work in the US, but I would imagine that in other countries, there's some sort of protection for a business. This is not a US issue where people take clients and go start their own thing. So you would just have to learn what the employment laws are and how to go about protecting intellectual property, trade secrets, those kinds of things, so that you're not training your competitors to go open up a store right next to you, if that makes sense. I keep it pretty tame when I'm talking about the independent contractor stuff, but it lights a fire under me. It pisses me off to no end because it is taking advantage of a woman who's trying to support herself and you are robbing her ability. I wouldn't be surprised if at least 15 to 20% of our industry just left completely because they couldn't make enough money to pay themselves because they were independent contractor. They were misclassified. And that's awful. I hate that because there's so much, even as an employee, you can still make a crazy good living, right? Like the prices we charge per hour, whether you work for someone or not, are great. Awesome. And especially women who don't have a college education typically and who honestly have been told they're not good enough in life to have that be the situation. That makes me want to do some damage. Yeah, I agree. That's why there's so many of us on our own, because I do think it would be easier to go work for someone else in a lot of ways if it was structured right and if you had the opportunity to grow. Thanks, Natalie. I appreciate that. Natalie, I like an apprenticeship program and set them up for success to open up their own space because eventually people will go on their own. That's one option for sure. I want to challenge because eventually people will go out on their own. I don't believe that. You've opened your own business. That takes a certain type. And as somebody who works regularly with people who are new to the industry, I can say about 80 to 90% of people in our industry are not cut out to run a business. They're not. They'll go out on their own, sure, but they'll do it for about 6 months before they realize they can't. They don't know how to do it, which is why it's job security for the Lashpreneur. Because we make it easier, but there's certain things like I can't, no matter how good my trainings are, I can't stop you from learning the lessons that you need to learn in order to grow your business. It's going to be painful at times. That's just reality, but it's what gets you to that level that you want to be at. Yeah, I don't think that people go out on their own. I think you can definitely have a situation where people are with you, but keep in mind, because we are a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Transitionary? No. Transient industry. Meaning that even if people come into our industry, the odds of them staying in the industry 10, 20, 30 years is slim. So there is a lot more turnover, I would say. It's very rare to find somebody who'd work for you for 2 years. But I don't know that that's just our industry. I think that's millennials and this generation, right? Like nobody is in a career for 30 or 40 years at one company. They're always looking for forward movement, especially with everything going online. And, so I do think that there is a lot more. You have to expect that building out a team, that a lot of your role is going to be hiring and firing and turnover. But once you have a process in place for where you post jobs, what the job posting is, the interview process, how do you weed out candidates, how do you select candidates, what's the offer, here's the onboarding process. It's not like, oh my God, I lost this one girl and she was with me for 2 years. Like you're going to miss them, sure, but you have a whole system and a process that's repeatable anytime you need to hire or expand. That is what a business is a repeatable processes. So eventually, when you've done this long enough and you've done this enough times and your process is working, you can hire a manager to oversee the day-to-day operations of the business, and she can implement the process of sourcing candidates, interviews, onboarding, management, right? Like that's the beauty. And that's where you start to get your time back as the business owner. You don't start to get time back when you first bring on team members. No. That takes usually a couple of years. It can happen a little bit faster, but you have to refine the processes so that the process is running the business and managing the team, and you can hire somebody to oversee the process. And that way you're also not micromanaging every single detail in your business, which will drive you crazy as you build a team.